This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Add excitement to your holidays with Ohio Lottery Holiday Scratch-Offs, including $1 holiday cash and $5 holiday lucky times 10, or holiday bonus millions with a 200 times multiplier and a $2 million top prize. Plus, enjoy second chance drawings where you can win 10 times, 100 times, or 1,000 times the price of your ticket. Scratch-Offs make the perfect gift, and best of all, there's no wrapping required. Lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and commission regulations. Play responsibly.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC and your daily reminder that the Reds are top of the league. Despite all the bedwetting and what you might believe if you would have a quick glance at Twitter, we are still top of the league and we have a game in hand. So all is going very, very well for Arne Slot's second half Reds. And remember, the second half of the season starts in a few weeks. And if you look at the numbers from Arne, from Feyenoord, from Alkmaar, second half of the season, he really does step up himself. We're getting to the end of this year, this calendar year. And I think we're all very, very impressed by this new manager and how well he's done to adapt to the league and to have us top of both the Premier League and the Champions League, and obviously still in the EFL Cup with that quarterfinal tomorrow night against Southampton. But it bears mentioning that he has done a remarkable job over the last number of years, not just with us, but with AZ Alkmaar, where he was denied a title by COVID. They were the team in form. They were the team with momentum, and Ajax were really starting to have struggles to get results. And if not for COVID, Arne probably wins the title with them. We know, obviously, then that he went and won the title with Feyenoord, which, although Feyenoord are a big club, they don't win the title nearly as often as you might think. It has been Ajax and PSV who've dominated the Eredivisie for the last 30-odd years. So for Arne to win the title with the number 3 team there is a big achievement. And he has us absolutely flying. We've lost once this season. That's also the only game in domestic competition, in fact, in any competition, that he has lost all year. In the year of 2024, Nottingham Forest are the only team to beat an Arne Slot managed team. Now, you could be pedantic and you could say, well, they lost to Roma in the Europa League, but they drew both games. They went out in penalties. I don't count that as a defeat. It doesn't actually count as a defeat on his official record either. It counts as a draw. That is remarkable. Since the start of last season, this man has only lost 7 matches. He lost 2 domestically with PSV, or with Feyenoord, 1 away to Twente, 1 at home to PSV, who went on to win the league. In the Champions League, they lost away to Atletico Madrid. I don't think that's a surprise. Away to Lazio, not a surprise. Home to Atletico Madrid, not a surprise, and away to Celtic. Not really a surprise. They're comparable teams, and it was at Parkhead. He did beat Celtic at home. He beat Lazio at home as well. He's only lost 7 matches since the start of last season, and none since the start of this calendar year, other than that Forest game. That's incredibly impressive for a manager who's not hugely experienced. Like, he's got a decent track record behind him, obviously. He's been managing now for coming up on 9 years, but his managerial career is basically Jurgen's tenure at Liverpool. And he's already at this level. It's incredibly impressive what he's been able to do. And I said it yesterday, I don't think people are giving him nearly enough credit for the work that he's done. I saw someone yesterday try and have a pop at him over the draws against Fulham and Newcastle, as if he can control that error from Queeving Kelleher, as if he can control Andy Robertson putting in that performance. He can't control what the players do moment to moment on the pitch. He coached an incredible game against Fulham. I thought he made one mistake against Newcastle. I thought as soon as we scored to go ahead, Endo should have been on immediately. But that's it. And that probably doesn't change what happened. It might have. It might have allowed us to just kind of kill the game off, take the sting out of them. But Endo coming on doesn't make Queeving Kelleher catch that ball. I'm bemused by anybody suggesting that Arne Slot is the reason that we've failed to win either of our last 2 league games. I would say Arne Slot's the reason we haven't lost both of them. And I saw this same person say, oh, well, Jurgen would have won both of them. Would he, though? Would we be in this position with Jurgen? Because it's not a Jurgen thing. It's a Jurgen staff thing. It's a Pep and Lijnders thing. Pep and Lijnders was very clearly in charge of the training and the tactical plan the last 2 seasons. Maybe longer. Because that team didn't in any way resemble a Jurgen Klopp team. You know what did resemble that Liverpool team last season, the season before? Red Bull Salzburg this season. NEC back in 17-18. That's what that resembled. I don't think we'd be top of anything if the change hadn't happened. And it's not a Jurgen thing. I just think Jurgen had taken a step back. I think Jurgen took a step back after the failure to win the quadruple. I think he'd been giving Lijnders more space for about 18 months at that point. But I think he took a big step back. I think he stepped back into more of a general manager type of position. And I think he had a plan where he was going to become the sporting director and Lijnders was going to be the coach. I think that was his plan. And if I had to guess, I'd say he went to FSG with that plan, was told no. And that was a large contributing factor in why he decided to move away. And go and do something else with himself. So we end up with Arne. Jurgen will take over as global director of football for the Red Bull Group. Basically Gerard Houlier's old role. Pep and Lijnders and Vitor Matas and a couple of others all went to Salzburg. And yesterday they were fired. Now, I don't know what's happening with Matas. I don't know what's happening with Cronmeyer, whoever else went there. But Lijnders has been fired after less than 6 months in the job. 29 games, 13 wins, 7 draws, 9 defeats. Scored 50, but conceded 42. A complete inability to coach a defence. Does that remind you of anything the last 2 years? It's actually worse than he did at NEC, where he managed 22 games for 11 wins, 4 draws, 7 defeats. Scored 39, conceded 29, again, struggling defensively. But he had a 50% win rate there against a 44.83% win rate at Salzburg. And he was brought to Salzburg because they deemed last season unacceptable. From when Red Bull bought into that club and the success started, their first title comes in the 06-07 season. And then they trade titles for a couple of years. And then this run of dominance starts in 13-14. And they win it that year, 14-15, 15-16, 16-17, 17-18, 18-19, 19-20, 20-21, 21-22, and 22-23. When they failed to win the title last season, it was deemed as a catastrophic failure because they'd gotten used to winning it every single season, having won 10 in a row. They'd gotten used to dominating the Austrian Cup, having won a whole bunch of them. 9 of them in a 10-year span, an 11-year span, might have been an 11-season span. They'd gotten used to this type of success. And last season it all vanished on them. And Sturm Graz won the double. So they decided to make a big move, and they went and they brought in Pep Lijnders. And they backed him in the transfer market. They spent significant money. They did obviously sell a couple of big players. Luka Sukic, Pavlovic, both sold for good money. But they spent big money on Bobby Clark. They spent big money on Gadu from PSG. They spent sizable enough money on Bedu to bring him in from a Norwegian team. They were expecting an immediate return to form. That was the demand that was placed on Pep Lijnders. But now, you look at the Austrian Bundesliga, and they sit 5th. They are 10 points off top, and their games in hand are now gone. They're 10 points behind Sturm Graz. 7 behind Austria Vienna. Now, they're only 2 points out of third, but third is not acceptable. Second is not acceptable. Winning is all that matters there. And Lijnders just didn't deliver. And there's bad results in there. You know, drawing with Tirol, drawing with Wolfsberger. These are not results that are acceptable to that club. And the Champions League had been largely a disaster. 5 defeats in 6 games. They did beat Feyenoord away. But getting thumped regularly. And the early 3 games, Sparta Prague, Brest and Zagreb, were just unacceptable. Brest are from a bigger league, obviously, but Salzburg were home and got beaten 4-0. Lijnders never figured out how to sort his defence out. And I get that it's tough because you've got a lot of young players there. But you knew that walking in the door. You knew what club you were going into. You know what the Red Bull model is. You know in particular what the purpose of this club is, which is it's a development forum largely for Leipzig, but also to bring money into the Red Bull sphere. He knew what he was walking into. He brought in Bobby Clark. He brought in Vucetic from Liverpool. Neither of them have done well. Neither of them have done well. Vucetic has struggled. Clark has outright been pretty poor in a lot of the games he's played in. Still have a lot of faith in both to go on to become good players. But people need to park the idea that Besetic can come back to Liverpool in January and be shoehorned into the team. That kid needs games, regular games. And I wonder with Lijnders now gone from Salzburg, if we'll pull him back, because we let him go there as a favourite to Pep.
This episode is brought to you by Disney Plus. Game on, because ESPN Plus content is available on Disney Plus. You can watch your favorites from Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus together like never before. With ESPN Plus, unwrap a full day of NBA action on Christmas Day. Tip off the festivities with the Spurs and Knicks, followed by the Mavs and Timberwolves. Then a clash between the Lakers and Warriors, followed by the 76ers and Celtics. And finally, the Nuggets face off against the Suns, all streaming December 25th. Then with Hulu, watch the terrifying sci-fi thriller Alien Romulus, where a group of young space colonizers come face to face with the ultimate horror. And on Disney Plus, follow the adventures of 4 kids across the galaxy as they meet unlikely allies and enemies in Star Wars Skeleton Crew, starring Jude Law. All of these and more now streaming and available with a bundle subscription. Visit DisneyPlus.com for details. Terms apply.
I do wonder if we'll recall him and loan him somewhere else. Maybe loan him to the Championship so we can keep a closer eye on him. That's the probably the right level for him at this point. We could find him a good Championship loan. Maybe somewhere like Blackburn, where we've had success sending players in the past. I wouldn't be sending them to Hull, given the mess that they're in. But, you know, a good top half Championship team, Middlesbrough maybe. If Hayden Hackney were to leave in January, could Besetic go there as a replacement for 6 months? Work under Michael Carrick. You wouldn't find many better coaches for him to work under than Michael Carrick. I think Bobby Clark will go on and be a really good player. But thus far, it hasn't worked out for him at Salzburg. We got a really good fee from. It's not our problem anymore. But he's a player that I've liked since we brought him in from Newcastle. And I really do hope he finds form there. Because if he does find form there, that can be a really good springboard for him to get himself a Bundesliga move. And then potentially come back to England in a few years as a more fully developed player. And if he's playing well in the Bundesliga, it'll certainly put him in the eye of Thomas Tuchel, depending on how long Tuchel stays. But, you know, it could lead to potential England caps if he gets a Bundesliga move and does well. But it all has to start at Salzburg. He has to perform well there. And thus far, he hasn't. Now, again, it's very clear that the club made the decision that was down to Pep and Lijnders not being up to the task. Be interested to see where he goes next. Certainly he won't be back to Liverpool. You can be assured of that. I think Michael Edwards would burn the place to the ground before he'd allow that. But he said himself he doesn't ever want to be an assistant again. He wants to be a manager. He thinks he's got what it takes. Based on the many, many, many interviews he gave as assistant manager of Liverpool and based on the book he wrote as assistant manager of Liverpool, things I've never seen an assistant manager do before. He's very, very confident in himself. I think he might be his own biggest fan. He believes he's going to be a manager. So he said he doesn't want to assist anybody. He said the last person he's an assistant to will be Jurgen. So be very interested to see what he does next. I think he should probably consider maybe a job that's got a little less expectations on it. You know, when he went to NEC, it was promotion or bust. That was the mandate he was given. When he went to Salzburg, it was win the title or bust. I think he needs to go to a club where, you know, mid-table is fine and find himself and develop himself. Right, we've got Southampton tomorrow night. Arne Slot's done his press conference today. He has said that Diogo Jota won't start against Southampton. He's not completely fit, which I think is understandable. He's only just back. I think in an ideal world, he wouldn't have even come off the bench against Fulham, but he was needed. He came on. He did a great job. It's not a surprise that he'll sit this one out. Arna has confirmed that Federico Chiesa will start. No, sorry, that he will play. Not that he will start, but that he will play. There's a lot of people suggesting that he will start and that, he got the minutes against for the 21s, so he should be okay to start this and maybe play 45 or play 60 if things go well. It's expected that Jayden Danns might get minutes, that Trainiani might get minutes. What Arna said about Chiesa was he will make minutes tomorrow if he starts or comes in or plays the second half. So leaving all options open there. He could start the game, come off on 45 or 60. He could come on 45 or he could come on 60 or 70 or whatever. I can only make 5 substitutions. The ones that make minutes and go off maybe at half time. Yeah. So Queeving Kelleher and Wataru Endo look certain to start. And Amaro Nallo and James Norris are being considered for starts in defence. Obviously, the Robbo suspension. We didn't appeal the red card, which I'm a little bit surprised by. Given how many different talking heads came out and said, yeah, it was a mistake with the referee, probably should have only been a yellow. I'm a little bit surprised that we didn't appeal. Let's see. Stefan Bajcetic recall may not be an option after Pep and Lijnders sacked. Lijnders' future, Bajcetic's future at Salzburg has come into question following the sacking of Lijnders. Oh, we don't know if we have a recall clause in that loan. Because Salzburg paid a loan fee. So it's likely there's no recall clause. You know what? It's fine. If they get a good coach in, it might actually benefit them massively to stay there and learn under whoever comes in next. Liverpool ready to sign 18-year-old striker with 14 goals in 16 games. This is this Belgian kid, Trey Ogunsoyi, of Sunderland, playing for their 18s and 21s this season. Apparently is a big-time talent. So Lewis Steele and Craig Hope very clued in on the Northeast clubs. Lewis Steele obviously well clued in on Liverpool. They're the ones reporting this in the Mail, that Liverpool are very, very interested in this youngster. I believe he's a right-footed striker. Don't know if he can play wide. I'm not sure what the profile is. But it says here he can play across the front line, but is most adept as a striker. We do have a couple of good options through the middle as well already, with Jayden Danns, Ronell Young, young Figueroa. Yeah, this kid though is apparently immensely talented. I haven't seen a bit of him, but the people that watch a lot of the academy games, they say this kid is a big time talent, and it would be a coup for us to go and get him. AnfieldIndex.com. Actually, do you know what I wanted to do today? Yesterday we looked at the Eredivisie and players that maybe we could take a look at. So thought today we could have a look at Portugal. Maybe, focus outside of the top 5 leagues for a few minutes. Because there's a lot of good players in Portugal, a lot of players that would improve us as a team and as a squad. So let's start. Victor Gyökeres, absolutely. I don't know why there's so many people who seem to be against the idea of him, but he is outstanding. Goncalo Inacio, potentially. I think he could potentially be an option at left back. With his passing, with his ability on the ball, he's a strong defender. I think he could be an option. Antonio Silva, he's a little bit shorter than we normally like at centre-back because he's 6'2", but he's very, very promising. Big-time talent. And Benfica seem to be in a little bit of financial trouble, so maybe they'd be open to a favourable deal. Hjulmand, I don't think so under Arne, though I do very much like him. Diamonde would be a yes. Samu, he needs to develop more. Very, very talented, but needs to develop more. Still very raw. Alan Varela would be an automatic yes. Pedro Goncalves would be a no. Pepe would be a no. Koku, we don't need. Galeno would be a no. Pavlidis, no. Anatoly Trubin, if we hadn't signed Mamardashvili, yeah, then he would have been an option, but now no. Trincao, no. Zeno de Bast, no. Fabio Vieira, definitely not. Arsnes, no. Florentino Luis, no. Actor Koglu, I do like, but no. Marcus Edwards, no. Leandro Barrera, no. No, I don't think so. Conrad Harder, very, very talented, but he is the successor to Gyökeres at Sporting, so they wouldn't sell him. Ricardo Salazar, no. Jan Niklas Beste, no. Anyone else here? Let's see. Thomas Arejo, I'm not a huge fan of. Ricardo Huerta, I do love, but he's too old for us to sign. Morita would be a no. Katama would be a no. Gwenda would be a firm yes. Absolutely a firm yes. I like Nico Gonzalez, but it doesn't make sense for us. Jean Mario, no. Cabral, no. Eduardo Quaresma, no. Nuno Santos, he's too old. He's a really good player, but he's too old for us. Zeki Amdouni would be a no, but he's a very interesting player that I do like. Berkansa is good, but no. Nahum Perez, I really like Nahum Perez, but no. Maxi Arejo, no. Thiago Giallo, no. Otavio's interesting. Otavio's very interesting because he has played a sizable amount of left back in his career. He's that centre back profile. I do like him. He'd be a yes for me. Sheldrup, I do love, but it hasn't worked at Benfica, so no. Prestiani's definitely one to keep an eye on. Roger at Braga, or I think it's Hozier. Look, it's spelled Roger, so we're going to go with Roger. He'd be a yes for me. I think he's interesting. Rodrigo Mora would be a yes. Ivan Fresneda, huge talent, hasn't really worked at Sporting yet. Gustavo Sa, very, very interesting player at Famalicão. Alvaro Carreras, he'd be a yes, except United have a buyback, so there's no way they'd let us have him. St. Just, no. Ishmael Garbi, maybe. At Braga, really good player, left winger. Martin Fernandez at Porto is a really promising young right back. Yeah, so there's quite a few in Portugal that would be a yes. Like, I'd be very much in favour of us keeping Portugal open as an option. And I know that Darwin hasn't worked. And I know that Diaz has been inconsistent. But that's not a reason to shut the league off. It's just a reason to profile a bit better than we have. Which, given Edwards and that is back in control, we should be doing a better job of that with Will Spearman and his team. But there's a lot of good players there. Certainly a lot more good players than there is in the Eredivisie. Right. AnfieldIndex.com. What have you got for us? There is a couple of pieces on what David Lynch has had to say on the title race, on the squad, and on Zubimendi. There's a piece about Gakpo. There's a piece about Jota. And then podcast-wise, there is the Arne Slot press conference, which you can listen to in its entirety. There is a new Big Decisions podcast, which is Dave Davis and Harry Sethi. There is a new Media Matters with Dave and David Lynch. And we've recorded the latest Scouted today, which should be out in the next little while, where we took a look at all 4 quarterfinals, because we didn't want to spend too long on the Liverpool-Southampton game. So we took a look at Arsenal Palace, Newcastle Brentford, and Tottenham against United. So that will be out later today, and that will do me for now. I will see you all tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.